Good evening, Internet. I do hope we're all well. I come to you tonight in glorious HD, courtesy of the of the new PC, and I'm very excited to be here tonight, as I'm showing you some licks that absolutely floored me when I first heard them. I can tell you exactly where I was when I first heard Stevie Vaughan's version of Little Wing back in 1999. I was halfway down the M1 in my Metro, listening to a mixtape cassette of various different songs, and when this came on, honest to God, I nearly crashed. So this is a song I've long promised myself that I would find a tab for and learn it, and then I got bored of waiting and I just worked it out myself. So I'm going to share with you tonight the wonderfully slippery legato licks that happened sort of the climax of the piece. Now, there's two licks here that are basically the same sets of ideas, both using the E blues scale, one in open position, one in 12th position. I've tabbed all of these out on the blog, and I'll put a link in the description below. So I'm not going to get hung up in trying to tell you the fingering for every single note, because honest to God, we'll be here all night. So first off, I shall play through example one. And now let's slow that down a little bit. Didn't help that much, did it? So let's break this down, because this looks like one massive great line, but in fact it's not. It's a lot of smaller lines happening together. There's nothing in here that is particularly revolutionary or wild. It's just the whole effect of it when it's all strung together. So there's lots of little cool things going on, which come together to become more than the sum of their parts. So here is our first element. And you can hear there's a slight rub there, that rub between the D sharp, which is a major 7, not something that you'd normally hear in the blues, before going down to run them together, and you can see we're getting a lovely overlapping effect here, similar to what you would get with like a normal sequencing. We'll then add on, so again try and get each part right, each element right before adding it together with the whole. String that all together now. And so you can see we kind of got a small lick, then a medium-sized lick, and then a larger lick. And the way they're constantly resolving down to that root note is kind of Stevie's stabbing you, not with his finger, prodding you with his finger, to make the point over and over again. And then we're following that up with classic open string delta blues lick. And every time come back to that E note, that root note on the 2nd fret D. Tag that with little 4 into the blues scale with the flat 5 there. And there's that root again. And then we come down onto the bass strings, playing around with the flat 5. Now for that A, you can grab your whammy bar. I actually find it easier to just reach behind the nut there, give a little bit of vibrato there. Obviously you're going to find that harder to do if you've got a Floyd Rose, but if you've got a Floyd Rose you're probably not that interested in playing this style of music. So there we are. Right, I'm going to play the whole thing through now, from beginning to end, just dead slow. I'm going to do that again with some breaks in between, so just kind of natural lines, natural breaks in the phrasing, so you can practice each segment as you go. And then I should point out as well that neat little slide from B flat to B. Now you can see that as flat 5 into regular 5, but I think over that point he's playing over a G chord, so your ears will interpret that as slide from minor third to major third. Right, moving on to the next one then, example 2. Now this is basically taking the same idea but bumping it all up an octave. However, you'll see there's some slight differences with the phrasing, and there is a real signature Stevie Ray Vaughan technique to be got here. So I'm starting off. Again, slow that down. And yeah, that doesn't really help too much either, does it? So let's break this down again into a series of sublicks. Now I'm starting off here with a longer phrase. And you can see there, got a nice little pull off. Nice little bit of chromaticism. B, B flat, A, 5th, flat 5, 4th. And now this is a real signature Stevie Ray Vaughan technique. What he does here is he's back on the 15th fret of the B string. That's giving me the flat 7. He does a finger roll onto the G, and that's giving me the flat 5. Slides down to the 14th fret and pulls off the 12th fret, back down to the root. And oh look what comes next. Exactly the same as, but an octave up. And our next tag, exactly the same as, but an octave up. So far we're up to and then we're following that with so again, I'm not going to belabor trying to lay out all the fingerings. They're all the tab is in the blog. But notice that we've still got, just as we had, I've got the same idea. So there's my B flat hammered into B. And this time I'm going to an A, but it's up an octave. Before I finish the line off, a quarter time bend here. And you'll notice as well that we finish on the 14th fret A string. That's a B note. That's the 5th of the key of E minor. And that's got a sound of something hanging. There's still more to come. Next we're going to move on to Lovestruck Baby, and this is where, well, I must make a small confession. Apologies, there's a slight misprint in the tab. On beat 4 of the first bar I've notated it as, and it shouldn't be. That 7th fret G note should be bent in both cases. Apologies for that, that's not having an editor for you. Yeah, so the Lovestruck Baby. Now Stevie Ray Vaughan is playing basically rhythm and lead together when he does his solo, because this was cut live over the course of 2 days. So he's using a lot of double stops to fill up sonic space. Made all the more useful by the fact he's playing with a very, very clean sound. So you haven't got the sound of lots and lots of distortion, big, thick, fat, juicy notes. Everything's quite clean, quite tame, you might say. Simply because this is exactly what people like Chuck Berry would have had back in the early days before distortion pedals were a thing. So if you wanted to thicken out your sound, you use nature's distortion pedal, which is having another note. So here's the lick. So this is a turnaround. I'm just going to come into that slowly. Finishing on an E7 chord there, the 5 chord, because I sort of said, sorry, we're in the key of A here, using the A blues scale. So you'll get some passing notes as well from playing double stops. So here we are, slow. And up the speed. If you're on go and check out the blog as well. I've linked the original YouTube video that was released on MTV back in '83, I think, which is As with any 1980s pop video, it's worth it just for the video, so go and check that out just for giggles. Saying an A for the last one, although of course, for those of you who aren't aware, Stevie Ray Vaughan would down-tune a semitone to make up for the fact that he was using 13 gauge strings, which are essentially large metal cables. So this would sound in the key of A flat, but he would be playing it in A. And this is from Cold Shot. And I rather like this because of its storytelling element. So again, I'll break this down into little sublicks. And then these next two notes serve as a pickup into the kind of the response lick. And there's something about the fact that both those phrases end the same way that really helps to tie them together. So you kind of call, response. It's almost like they're arguing with each other. Oh, what a hard day I've had. I think you've had a hard day, you haven't seen nothing. And on point of technique as well, I recommend keeping the first finger just on that bar across that 8th, 5th fret B and E strings while you're doing the 8th fret bends. Obviously Stevie Ray's kind of gunning for it really, so he's thinking more rhythmically than necessarily accurately. So if you've got the finger in place, that means that if you do catch an unwanted string, it's still going to sound pretty good. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful. Well, I'll see you guys next week, that's a bit ambitious, next month for Larry Carlton, no less. And here we're tackling the big boys. Alright, stay safe out there, see you soon.